public service. For this reason, I can choose to vote on this motion, and I vote yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We will now read each condition, take a roll call alphabetically on each one. If any condition is not met, the petition is not approved, pending appeal by any party. All of the conditions are met. The matter may be preliminarily approved, pending the completion of the CEQA study process. Mr. Secretary, please read each of the conditions, and the committee will vote on each one. And staff will maintain the tally via a roll call vote. Mr. Secretary.
Motion to accept, not accept staff findings on condition 1 of the proposed stage bus transfer. Adequacy in the number of students substantially met. Yes vote means you agree with the substantially met, and no vote means you feel it's unsubstantially met.
I move, Mr. Chair, that number 1 is substantial.
Second.
Vote.
Discussion.
Discussion. First of all, we got to vote on the motion. Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Yes. Aye. Yes.
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 Let's move forward for discussion. And anybody wants to discuss the motion? About the condition moment?
I just agree with staff analysis that it's substantially met.
Voted to discuss. Okay.
So, to clarify, we have one motion to go to discuss,
Right.
then the second motion to agree with that, the first finding was met, but that was removed.
That's-
So when the motions are moved and seconded, typically there's a discussion, and then there's a motion. Right,
So we're in
that's what you're
discussion.
doing. You're doing discussion. Okay,
It's confusing. How to do it.
sorry.
Yeah. We are in discussion of motion to. Oh, go ahead. Anybody have any comments to make? If not, we call for the question. Pete?
Andrade?
To clarify from here, are we discussing or are we voting?
We're voting.
Number 1 though.
Number 1 only.
Aye.
Ostrom?
Yes.
Edmondson?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Nunez?
Are we, this is
Condition number 1.
is met or not met?
Met, it is met.
Aye.
Hogarth?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Solomon?
Yes.
Wilmer?
Yes.
Vote is 9-0 in favor, substantially met. Condition 1.
Condition 2, community attended.
Discuss.
Everybody want to do? You
I
want
think
to
a motion
discuss
to
it?
act will include discussion. So a motion to approve will include
I'd
discussion.
like to make a motion to approve that it has been substantial.
Okay, motion approved. It's substantially met. Second.
Second.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion.
In 1992,
Frank, give me your microphone.
in 1992, it was substantially met. This is kind of a subjective, as you said. So the reason I feel it's been substantially met is because I don't see any substantial difference in media identity between 1991 and 1992 in the urban environment. Whether we have any changes in zoning, we have changes in density, number of bedrooms. There's a lot of factors that we could look at in a very superficial way and determine it. But in essence, the vote hasn't changed. It just seems like it's substantially met. So that's why I think the motion is not passed.
So I look at the word subjective, and that to me is what's brought forward by the people. And each of the people who stood up and talked about what it meant to them and their communities, and aligning the sagebrush community with the city of La Cañada. That to me is subjective, the facts. Yes, they have their agreements in terms of emergency services and services with the school districts and all of that related to infrastructure management. But because even Dr. Deegan used the word subjective and we've used the word subjective, I feel that this has not been substantially met.
Anybody else?
So I come at it from a slightly different viewpoint. I represent the 3rd Supervisorial District, and I try to represent, as Joel indicated earlier, the broader constituency of LA County. But the fact is that I represent the city of Beverly Hills, and on the board of Beverly Hills. And although school district and city boundary are not necessarily coterminous, I have found that there is a particular benefit to having them be coterminous. And so I see a benefit for coterminous boundaries. And these days, we need to share all sorts of services across different governmental entities. And being able to share services between a municipality and a school district make a big difference to me. It's nice to have your city's police department on your school campus, and that makes a big difference. It's nice to run health and safety issues and run municipal CPR classes and maybe municipal installments of AEDs on your school campus. In my city and school district, we run youth programs organized at the school district, but we run them at City Hall. And so I see perhaps a better community identity if we were to approve this petition. So I support the motion.
Any others? Mr. Peterson?
I guess one point of clarification that I just want to make sure my understanding is correct. A number of people have talked about that this committee, this body, will approve or not approve the petition. I understand if we not approve it, then that is what it is. Of course, it's an appeals process and so forth. But if I understand correctly, what this committee would be approving is simply an election to allow two things, to allow an election to happen and then deciding who votes in the election, what is the voting territory. So ultimately, the decision will be the people affected, however we judge that do the election. And so if we're talking about something like community identity, whether we can substantiate or not, I'm not sure any one of us can, or whether the county staff can decide. But certainly people who live there, if they participate in an election, I'm just trying to understand then why we would want to preclude allowing people to have that opportunity to express whether they are part of a community or not, whether they benefit or are harmed through an election. If this has been coming up multiple times for 50 years, that's the only part, if I understand it correctly. We're not here to decide definitively yes, and then if we say no, it's really just when we say at this level and there's a appeal process, but at the end of the day, the approval is to just approve an election. Or misunderstanding that?
For clarity, if you make the decision no, then it will not go before the voters.
Sure.
However, if any party appeals, that process with the State Board of Education would have to run through to its completion before the matter could be put to a vote. And at that point, the State Board of Education would decide on the voting area.
Any other discussion on Mr.
It's
Williams?
just that it's a process that we have to go through, that we have the powers, that this is the challenge that you have to meet, and we have to decide whether they were met or not. That doesn't mean, if I don't think they met, but the rest of the committee thinks that they have been met, then they have been met.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkie.
Yeah, these are the 9 conditions by ed code, so we can't say, we should not be even thinking about this condition. Not so, we have to, that we're obligated. And we will, as you see, vote on each and every one of them today. Any other discussion on condition number 2?
And so the motion as submitted is to, on condition 2, that the committee feels that it has substantially been met.
Right.
Brachi?
Aye.
Osterman?
Aye.
Edmondson?
Aye.
Griffith?
Aye.
Nunez?
Aye.
Ogas?
No.
Peterson?
Because I think a reasonable person might think that my 8 years on Rocky Mountain School Board may cause me to have a bias or conflicted view on this one. I will recuse myself on this vote.
Solomon?
No.
Wilmer?
Yes.
The motion passes 6-2 with 1 abstention. It has substantially been met.
We move forward to condition number 3, equitable division of assets and liabilities. Motion.
I'll make a motion, but you need to give a statement first. No, I said I'll make a motion, I'll make a statement first. Finances are the most important part of the school district has to deal with. In this particular item, we're talking about assets that are basically no facilities. We're talking about bonding capacity, which I couldn't comment on. And the only division of assets would be bonded indebtedness, which we're in. That's not really commented on much in depth. The reason I would make a motion to say it has been substantially met is because I would like to go to the next step to see this fleshed out in more detail to really understand it. And for that reason, I would make a motion that it has been substantially met. I'd like to see a more detailed in-depth analysis.
So what is your motion to say it's been substantially? Because substantial. Second? Okay, now I have discussion. You already had your motion.
I'll comment.
Mr. Wilmer.
This was a close call for me. I'm going to vote differently, I think, based on discussion on the other issues that relate to the physical consequences of this. But it's just the actual letter of the condition, the proposal will result in equitable division of property and facilities.
I think that's been substantially met. I think my concerns about possible issues with bonded indebtedness surface in other conditions later on. I'm happy to support this one substantially met.
Mr. Peterson.
It's a part of the discussion or comment I have, but it's really, I just want to get a clarification. I heard somebody mention with regard to some of this financial impacts, and not only in this one, future ones deal with the permitting and what purposes. And somebody mentioned something about being an Allenville district. Is Glendale or Lockingham or both, are they Allenville districts? And I just want to clarify what that means.
School employees can enroll in this.
So it means only school employees can enroll in this.
I don't know all of the particulars of it, but that's the gist.
Can you speak a little louder?
That's the gist of it. It's enrollment for school employees.
I mean, does anybody have any more detailed information on it?
Where's that? Is Andrew here?
Dan Jeffries, current school board president.
Thank you. I'm currently the school board president of Lake County Unified. We do accept students. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Dan Jeffries, and I'm the current board president of the Lake County Unified School District. We do currently accept students under the Allen Bill, which allows students that are employed with their parents in the district.
Thank you. So my understanding of that, so I've heard two conflicting
No.
things.
And
At least when I was on the school board, being an Allenville district, and once you accept any student in under permit, that they are treated as a resident going forward. They don't have to reapply each year. Is that also true?
It's my understanding that it depends on availability of space, but as long as there's availability of space, that we have enough space to allow the permits. Obviously, our primary consideration is our current students, and we have to count them as district residents.
So you can deny them if there isn't space, but they don't, do they have to keep reapplying?
You know, unfortunately, our district superintendent, Ms. Sinette, left already. Mr. Tracy?
Because this seems to be a fundamental issue that drives a bunch of these numbers, is all I'm trying to understand here. Because people have said, both things, that I think Glendale's assertion is that, hey, the current situation of having permissive permits, effectively, once blocking out to take somebody on, you got them, so what's the deal? Why do we need to transfer? On the other hand, what I'm hearing from Makinyata is, once we accept the burden, we hold that burden. But on the other hand, if every year they have to reapply, then you really aren't holding that burden. So financially, you could always go ahead and decide to come out from under the burdens. I'm just trying to understand what the issue is, because I think it goes to not only this financial part, but other equitable distribution, but also other financial impacts.
You know, Mr. Peterson, I guess the best way to address that is to say that it's my understanding that the Allen bill applies to students whose parents are working in the district. And for the most part, we're not talking about that with sagebrush residents. Under sagebrush residents, we're talking about generally not parents who work in the district, although there is some crossover. So our policies as to Allenville residents are not the same procedures as the sagebrush residents. There's a different ed code provision that allows for admission of students under the Allen bill. And our current practices under the Allen bill is that once we have a student who is admitted under the Allen bill, as long as their parents continue to live in the district, or continue to be employed in the district, we continue to allow those students to stay in the school. So those students under the Allen bill do not have to reapply.
Pending their space. Pending their space in the school. So state the fact of the matter. If they're permissive and if they're pending on space. Space isn't available.
At the point of when they apply, like, is it every year?
Every year there has to be space or how
Isn't that the de facto Anyway, this is why I'm clear, because to me, this has an impact on much of the finances.
Any other discussion, any other committee?
Allenville is not subject on space, you guys.
Hearing none, then vote.
The motion as stated for condition number 3 is that it has substantially been met. Andrade?
Aye.
Bosman?
Aye.
Edmondson?
Aye.
Griffith?
Aye.
Nunez?
Aye.
Ogaz?
No.
Peterson?
I'm going to recuse myself on this one.
Solomon?
Yes.
Wilmer?
Yes.
This condition has been indicated 8-1 that is substantially, 7-1-1 that is substantially met.
We go to condition 4. Will not promote ethnic discrimination or segregation. I be vote for this condition. Motion.
Make a motion to approve that it's been substantially met in previous staff.
I second.
Second.
Vice President.
Discussion. Call question.
Okay, the motion is that condition number 4 has been substantially met. Andrade?
Aye.
Bostrom?
Yes.
Edmondson?
Yes.
Griffith?
Aye.
Nunez?
Aye.
Ogaz?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Solomon?
Aye.
Wilmer?
Aye.
Condition number 4 has passed as substantially met in a 9-0 vote.
Condition number 5 will not substantially increase costs to the state. So we vote. Motion.
I move to accept staff's recommendation that not substantially met.
Moved and seconded to not met, discussion.
I think this is a tough one because it's a link again. I think this is a tough one because it's another one of those financial things, and I think it's linked with a lot of the others. It comes down to, you're talking about half of 1%, and you're talking about 30% of the budget. So the issue here is the word significant, how that's interpreted.
Okay. Mr. Nunez?
Yes, when we look at these financial things, when we look at that, we're looking at right now. And yes, if all those come 100% true, the way it's according to what they are right now, it could be a problem for a school district. But this is something, one of the problems while we're here is because many years ago, 50 years ago, somebody looked at something and didn't take consideration how the whole thing would come to about when they made that straight line instead of use a natural boundary to make the line. So all these financial things will, within time, remedy themselves. At first, there might be monies that they have to be incurred, one school district or another, for a short period of time in long periods of time. So I think that, saying, I understand that staff has to deal with figures, but today's figures, it cannot make anything down the future. But I think the fact that the district wasn't drawn, I think, with natural boundaries instead of just a straight line because it might have been a street that existed there at that time, is kind of like, was short-sighted at that time. And I think that if we look at long ramifications, I think that I would say that this can be, we can feel that it's successfully made.
That's what they thought 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Peterson?
A question for Dr. Deegan. Does county staff, are you required to find that it's met, is it binary, met or not met? Can you come to a finding where you say we couldn't find in one way or the other?
Met or not met?
Men or not men?
Okay. And this is where I'm a little bit concerned, just because I understand sometimes the process forces you to make a binary decision, when the fundamental reality may be, the reality is that you may not truly be able to come to that. What I heard you say, I paraphrased it, so I apologize if I'm inaccurate, but what you said is essentially one school district, both school districts are very strong financially, well managed, etc. And one said it's not going to be an issue, financial detriment. The other said it is a significant detriment. And you basically said that you had no reason to believe that either had bad faith in how they represented, or that had incompetency about how they were able to do their own analysis and how it affected them. Both are saying sort of what they're saying. And you, as an independent party, saying, given the information you were given, you really couldn't go ahead and parse either one, because both gave you documentation and supporting their side, and you had no reason to invalidate the documentation that either gave you. So all I'm just pointing out is that I put you in a very difficult position.
Well, it wasn't a position. I don't think that paraphrasing is accurate. What I'm saying is the district that wants the transfer is saying it would not hurt the other. The district that will lose the territory is saying it will hurt us. And that is the benefit of the doubt that I believe Glendale USD is entitled to make, given their history of sound management, fiscal solvency, and robust educational programs. Nobody is saying it'll be neutral, and again, the years of negotiating could not reach an agreement based on these fiscal issues. And Glendale's assertion that it will be fiscally.
So again, just for clarification, my understanding is correct. If it's wrong. is La Cañada Unified School District the petitioner?
No,
No, so they are not the school district that wants this to happen.
they do want that.
They are supporting a petition by.
They are supporting the petition, they are not a petitioner of the members of the public
So I'm just
petition.
trying to say, so I've got two school districts where you have a group of citizens that have come forward and said they want a certain outcome. And two school districts that are impacted, one has said, we think we're not going to be negatively impacted. The other one says, we think we might be negatively impacted.
No, one has said, we think the other will not be negatively impacted. I think it's a given that La Cañada will not be negatively impacted. That wasn't a concern that the petition analysis had.
The original analysis was that La Cañada was also going to be negatively impacted.
Negatively impacted in terms of they don't have the
It
facilities,
was new
but,
information.
right.
That said, there was an assertion made, and I think we can validate it now since we have the Glendale Unified Superintendent here. The assertion was made that the two school districts had reached an agreement in principle, but that they ran out of time with regard to lawyers coming down to a legal mechanism and what the opinion was. Is this in fact true?
I never asserted that.
I know you did not. There was another assertion. That's why if you don't agree with that, then we can validate that assertion, or at least get it valid.
I think the findings state that, do not state that they ran out of time. It states that they just could not come to an agreement between both parties, and therefore they moved forward and said, no, take it back to mediation.
One of the petitioning presenters made the assertion. So what I'm just trying to get at is the staff said, look, what we're relying on is that the one of the school districts, the one that is opposed to the transfer, says that they will be harmed. We are taking that as greater weight than the other school districts saying, no, we think you won't be harmed. But if on the other hand, we have testimony from the petitioner saying, we actually came to an agreement on the financial parts. What kept us from reaching a final agreement was our lawyers couldn't come up with an agreed legal mechanism in the time frame that we had. If that in fact is true, then that would mean that maybe there isn't a disagreement on financial impact. We have the superintendent of Glendale here who could substantiate. If he in fact says there still is a disagreement on that, I defer to staff.
That's what I've been informed of, that the disagreement is overcomable, or they would have continued. The committee chair graciously held review of this petition to give the districts the time. They didn't call them and say, you're out of time. We received the call to say, our negotiations are over. And I think there's a significant difference between saying, we will not be harmed, let's go forward, and saying, you will not be harmed, let's go forward. And that's what we don't have here. We don't have districts saying individually they will not be harmed. We have one saying the other will not be harmed. And I think that's a different
That's a
discussion.
very good. Thank you.
Mr. Walker?
My approach on this is a little bit different than the prior discussion we just had, and I made the motion to say that this has substantially not been met. We're making findings of conditions here, none of which, at least from my point of view, constrain my final decision. I think we are making findings on conditions that we want to put out there publicly, and if this goes forward, put out there publicly for when a certain constituency decides to vote on this. It seems fairly clear to me that if you're moving 387, if you're moving up to 387 students into a school district of 4,093, you're having a financial impact. I think what we have heard, perhaps, is that the school district is willing to adapt to that financial impact. Not that there is no financial impact. They're comfortable adapting to it. But I see a substantial financial impact. On the other hand, my days on the school board and watching what's going on, with my relatively small school district in my local community, 387 students in and out of Glendale Unified School District, at most is sort of a 1.5% impact on revenue, and probably a lot less. I don't actually see this as being necessarily a significant impact on Glendale. It might be a substantial impact in absolute numbers. But it's easy for me to say this has a substantial impact. I don't think it's going to, it won't my voting yes for it is not necessarily going to affect my final vote on whether to approve or disapprove the decision. But it's relatively clear to me that at least for La Cañada, it's a large number of students to absorb. I cannot see how it's not a substantial impact.
But it's
So, being a sitting governing board member in a school district probably comparable to La Cañada suburban school district, I think that the financial impact is there on both sides. And to say that, you know, it's not so much on Glendale is only true in fact because it's such a larger, more populated school district, but it doesn't mean it's any less of an impact to Glendale just because of the type of school district that they are. At the same time, it came out in the reports and even in the testimony that La Cañada, you know, would have to look at how they would house these students, and getting temporary housing is a temporary solution. That's something that they'd be willing to look at. That would be a judgment call that they would make. And so I agree with AJ on his approach to how to look at that for La Cañada in terms of looking at finding solutions to do it. It is significant to both school districts based on the type of school district and their sizes. So there's no judgment call from me that it's better or worse on either one.
Mr. Lee.
Yes, if the vote is to accept or that didn't meet the conditions, that means that the whole process stops, right? Just one.
No, it's only one condition.
Okay.
I mean, I'd take it all the way. I don't think it would ever happen, but I could see us voting every single condition not substantially met and still have the opportunity to approve the petition. And I don't imagine that would ever happen, but these are just conditions. These are just conditions. They're not controlling on our final decision. They should input our final decision.
Well, make a comment. Glendale, of course, would lose those students. It'd give you more space, less teachers, less cost. On the other hand, you have La Cañada. You've got to take on these students at the same time, another phase of the process. Now you need more classrooms. You need more teachers. Apparently, in this study, you state, we don't have that. This would happen overnight. So there's going to be an impact. In Glendale, there's going to be a negative impact in Glendale, positive over here in La Cañada. But La Cañada, along with taking those and gaining that ADA, you're going to have a substantial amount of expense to be able to educate and house those students. So there is a substantial impact. Yes, sir.
This is why I was asking about the Allen building. What is the number of permit students that La Cañada currently has? Approximately. No, total permit students in the district. When I was on the school board, we had a policy of, it was 15% with the permit students, so 15% out of 4,000.
Yes, Mr. Peterson, it still is 15% of our total enrollment, which 15% of
So that's like
4,000.
600?
600.
So 600, so if 317, I think that was 317 students were immediately day one became residents, then you would just reject out of the existing 600, because what I heard was subject to room, and room defined by you have to accommodate residents first.
That's permitted.
Yeah, so right now, La Cañada has 600 permanent students in the district. So if suddenly the number of residents, the total number. So if you bring in, if suddenly the number of residents, students, increases by 317, it pushes out 317 permit students from other districts.
Can I ask you?
So in terms of then, if you have room currently, you are not net increasing by, you're not gonna keep 600 permit students and add another 317 to have suddenly 917 bodies and come up with new rooms. You would just simply push out 317, take in 317, and so the number of rooms, this again, my understanding, it seems to be no impact. I don't understand why you are saying you have to suddenly have portables and things. If my understanding of the island bill is correct, if on the flip side, what it is that those permits that you have, that you've taken out of the island bill, you cannot push them, then exactly what Mr. Orgaz is saying becomes an issue. That's what I was trying to understand, the difference here.
You're correct about the Allen Bill, when they are enrolled, space permitting, under the Allen Bill, because the parent is an employee of the district, they cannot be removed from the district in the permit process while the parent is employed. So they become like district residents, but that's a small portion of the petition area. There aren't hundreds of Allen Bill students, that's my understanding.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I think what we're looking here is that the school district can actually change the school size, class school size, and absorb a lot of students by just raising the students per classroom. That's not a very good thing to do, but that's what they possibly could do. So those are some of the risks that I'm saying, that how people get affected right now, but could be taken care of within long range.
Ms. Solomon?
In terms of transfers, the governing board of La Cañada School District would make its own determination whether or not they wanted to keep all of the transfers they have received from outside districts. So it's not, unreasonable to think that they could keep all 300 plus or whatever they have and add children. That's their discussion to have.
Was it Paul?
The issue is the word significant. Is there an impact? Yes. Is it significant? Who knows? The answer is call the question.
Don't chew me out for that. Not my fault. Call the question. Thank you. Question is good. Oh, vote.
The motion on condition 5 is that it will not substantially be met. Andrade?
No.
Osborne?
No.
Edmondson? Griffith?
No.
Nunez?
No.
Ogaz?
No.
Peterson?
I'm going to abstain because, not as a refusal, abstain because, again, I don't think there's enough information.
Solomon?
So let me clear this in my head, because now I'm confused. So we are voting in favor of the concept that this has not been met?
That's correct.
Okay, so I vote yes, that it has not been met.
That's correct. Wilmer?
So a yes vote is supporting the staff.
That is correct. A yes vote is supporting the staff recommendation that it has not substantially been met.
I vote yes.
Motion fails on a 6-2-1 that condition 5 was not substantially met.
Condition 6 will not significantly disrupt educational programs in either district. Motion on the floor to move to approve the staff recommendation.
I second.
Call the question. It's on.
Motion, condition number 6, staff recommendation that has substantially been met. Andrade?
Aye.
Ostrom?
Yes.
Edmondson? Griffith?
Yes.
Nunez?
Yes.
Ogaz?
Yes.
Peterson?
Aye.
Solomon?
Yes.
Wilmer?
Yes.
Vote is 9-0 in favor of the staff recommendation that condition 6 has substantially been met.
Condition number 7 will not result in a significant increase in school housing costs.
Not increase impact.
That's the increase. Well, that's not condition 7.
I move to accept the staff recommendation.
Second.
Let me clarify conditions. That's the rationale. The rationale. The condition is, it will not result in a significant increase in school housing costs. Proceed.
Yeah.
All right. Discussion?
You know,
We're upside down.
You're upside down.
What are we voting for on seven? That we support, not substantially met?
Correct.
Is yes.
Right.
And that means that it'll
a
be.
yes vote supports the staff recommendation.
The staff recommendation.
Not been substantially met.
Right, which would be a
I
no
want to be sure
vote.
how, if the previous, or the vote twice before was,
Depends on the
which
motion.
side are we on it?
Yeah.
And so it's clarity is what I'm concerned with. Not that, yeah, okay.
I'll just say for the reasons I gave for 5, I suppose. I just see moving a substantial number of students into La Cañada, even though they have the option of adjusting existing transfers, the revenue stream for bringing in transfer students is probably too high for them to say no. And so I expect them to have a housing cost issue.
I believe we said that they have good credit.
That's their fault.
You can let them
Right.
Joe?
So, that's a very good point, and that you point out that it would be tempting to get the additional revenue. However, if they push out, they take in 317 students as residents through a transfer for blended, a territory transfer, and they push out 317 transfer students, they're revenue net neutral. That's my understanding. So they don't lose revenue, they don't gain revenue, and they should then also be cost neutral. Again, in fact, they might actually benefit, because one of the criticisms I know when I was serving, we actually increased, because we had the kind rule, we increased the percentage from 10% out-of-district transfers to a 15%. And there was many people in the school district who disagreed with this, saying that transfer families are not engaged, that they are not the PTA moms or the dads, that they are not volunteer coaches, and so that we are not just gaining revenue from ADA, but then we are not getting the non-cash revenue of the human capital of the parents. Not because these parents from transfers don't want to, but if you live in another city, you work across town in LA, you just can't get there, and we understand that. So in one sense, if you brought these people in that actually live in the city, it may be a qualitatively different replacement for current existing transfer. So just on a financial impact basis of increasing the cost of housing for taking these 317 students, if you can push out 317 to make room, I don't see how that creates.
Again,
Andrea?
Yeah, just from what the school district have presented to us, La Cañada has presented that they are looking at acquiring, I think it was 8 portables, so they haven't indicated a plan to push out permit students. So even though they believe the way they presented their information is that they're sort of net positive cost, revenue versus cost on these additional students, the net positive will cover the cost of these portables. And I've also from experience have been in a district where, they are very efficient at setting up portables and handling additional students and making very flexible changes to student housing. I do think that there is going to be a cost here.
I was just, I agree with Dr. point.
Public comments, I want to get comfortable.
I am I have no doubt, I mean, I take on face value locking out believing that they can solve this issue. That's not what the condition is. The condition is there, will there be an impact? I'm convinced there will be an impact from their own statements, and as Rocky indicated, the fact that they were actually preparing to think about the issues of portables seems to indicate to me that they expect there will be housing impact.
All right, call for the question then, condition number 7, vote.
Condition number 7, the motion is to, the staff recommendation is not substantially met. A vote yes will indicate approval of the staff recommendation. You're agreeing with the staff recommendation?
Let's change it to the
Andracci?
Aye.
Ostrom?
Yes.
Edmondson? Griffith?
Yes.
Nunez?
No.
Ogas?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Solomon?
Yes.
Wilmer?
Yes.
The vote on this is 7-2 to agree with the staff recommendation that this has not substantially been met, condition number 7.
Condition 8, proposal.
Make a motion to agree with staff.
Proposal is not primarily designed to substantially increase property values.
Make a motion to agree with staff.
Second.
Discussion? Call for the question.
Motion is to, on condition number 8, to accept the staff recommendation that this condition has substantially been met. Andracci?
So vote yes is to support.
Let's support the staff recommendation substantially met. Andracci?
Aye.
Ostrom?
Aye.
Edmondson? Griffith?
Aye.
Nunez?
No.
Hogarth?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Solomon?
Yes.
Wilmer?
Yes.
The vote is 8-1 that the staff recommendation has been accepted, that it's substantially been met.
Condition 9 will not affect fiscal management or status of the affected districts. Oh, what is your call?
This was a close call.
It's a close one.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion that it has been substantial in that.
Has been,
The motion is that it has been substantially met. Do I have a second?
By this.
There is lack of a second. Another motion.
I think that.
Pardon me?
Second.
I didn't hear you.
But I said.
Were you scratching your ear?
I said it through my,
Gotta be verbal.
I said it.
Yes, tell me, I second.
I heard it.
Thank you very much.
Did you hear it?
Discussion.
I heard it.
You're sitting on that side.
Turn your ear around.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, this is one of those things where it comes back to the word significant. And like I said before, there are lots of, there are some issues here with regards to finances. Hopefully, we can get a little detail somewhere down the line with the EIR, if that's what it takes. And
I would just say, the process of getting more detail down the line from an EIR, I don't know that it addresses fiscal.
We gotta vote on it as is,
Yeah.
what we have now.
You can decide not to vote on the petition, but I just want to be sure that what you hope is coming is truly coming to you, that's all.
The motion before us is?
Sure.
What is
Just
the
read the
motion?
motion.
What is the motion on?
The motion before you is on condition 9 to deny the staff's recommendation and indicate that it is substantially met.
I'm just reading from the first line of the staff conclusion. It is concluded that this transfer would negatively affect Unified will handle here. Just year to year, budget adjustments have been more significant than that. And going on in my experience. And again, I think the La Cañada support from the school board, more so than the petitioners here,
indicates to me that they believe that they have solutions that they would not be negatively impacted. And so I think this has been substantially met.
Anybody else? Would you clarify the motion?
Motion on condition 9 is the committee feels this has substantially been met. A yes vote will indicate, will reaffirm that. Andrade?
Yes.
Moskowitz?
Yes.
Edmondson?
Yes.
Griffith?
Aye.
Nunez?
Aye.
Bogas?
No.
Peterson?
Yes.
Solomon?
Yes.
Wilmer?
Yes.
This motion is approved 8-1, and that has substantially been met.
What is the final tally regarding the condition?
Final tally is 8 of the conditions, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 8, and number 9 have been deemed substantially met. Conditions number 7 have been deemed not substantially met.
Some of the conditions are not met. The petition is not approved. It sends a matter pending any appeal. Okay. Once again, some of the conditions are not met. The petition is not approved. This ends the matter pending any appeal.
So is that really a change? Because in the past, I have a distinct recollection that that has not been the case.
Correct.
The State Board of Ed,
So,
The State Board of Ed interprets it that way. The committee is free to choose, since we know it's likely heading for an appeal, it's free to choose whatever rationale that it wants, but the State Board of Ed reads conditions met as approval of the petition. Conditions not met, denial.
Well, let me ask it slightly differently. In the past, have we not, after voting on the conditions, have we not then had a subsequent vote on whether or not we approve the petition?
Yes, you can do that.
And there's been no change in ed code that denies us the prerogative to do that?
No, you can take that vote.
but do you have a comment?
No, they just clarified what I was going to ask.
All right. Anybody have a comment?
May I make a motion?
You may make a motion.
I move that we approve the petition.
Then move and second
second, sorry.
to approve the petition. Second by Mr. Butler. Mr. Wilmer making the motion. Discussion.
Yes, I'd like to have a discussion. If the petition is approved, when do we discuss the size of the election? Or who is?
If the petition is approved, then Glendale Unified School District or any other party would have 15 days in order to notify us of the appeal.
No.
You have to
Right.
make CEQA.
If the petition is approved, it's a preliminary approval, and we convene a CEQA investigation.
Exactly.
So no other decisions are made, no opportunity to appeal is available until the committee makes a final decision.
Can I follow up on that?
You may.
So presuming, well, so you will go through a CEQA finding, presuming that there's I guess a negative deck on the CEQA finding, would we then have a vote on the election area?
Yeah, you'll determine the election area
We'll determine the election area, but it's after, but it would not be at this meeting.
until you finalize your approval. Then you determine the election area. And then at that time, if any party would appeal, it goes to the State Board of Ed, and they have the potential to obviously change approval or denial and change the election area.
So my final question, so the only way for this to move forward with CEQA and subsequently come back to us would be for us to approve it?
Preliminary
Or
approval.
preliminary approval?
Yes.
So I've changed my motion. Who seconded my motion?
Mr. Wilson. Here's clarification. The state board has stated that if all the conditions are met, the matter may be criminally approved if all conditions are met. Not all conditions have been met, making basically this motion out of order, according to the rule of the State Board of Education.
When we were voting on different, conditions, I asked that question of you, and you told me that it would continue.
We continue reviewing every condition. You wouldn't stop the vote. You continue to review every condition.
But I said we would stop the petition, and you said no.
So, before we began this, we asked the questions of, no matter what the outcomes were on how we voted on the conditions, we still have the vote to affirm or deny the petition. And so, I'm calling this process into question right now. I don't feel comfortable about anything, making a decision. So, well,
And that's the thing, is that I asked if we denied any part of this petition, can we still go on and vote? And I was told that we would be able to vote.
Well, I'm just telling you what.
Well,
I understood that question to mean, tell me, do we go on and review the rest of the conditions?
So,
That's what I
why do you want?
Hey, Mr. Wilmer, you can say.
Well, there's a motion on the table that
We will deal with
you may or may not have ruled out. I see two ways to go forward here. One way is for you to pull back your ruling and for us to continue with the motion and have a subsequent determination of whether the motion was inappropriate or not. Failing that, I would request the chair's permission for us to review our discussion and vote on item 7, because I think at least many of us, when we were voting on condition 7, did not presume that it was removing our ability to support the petition.
So my experience with parliamentary procedure is that a motion can be recalled only at the meeting in which it was made. So,
I think the people that voted in the affirmative can ask it to be.
right, yeah, there's that codicil, but if that motion were to be made, it can only be done today.
Mr. Vogt?
You might inquire our staff, because this is a big change in the procedure, because essentially what's being said and given to us is we have to vote 100% on all items 1 to 9 before it's over. And I think you can't disagree and move forward to evaluate discrepancies for further understanding before you have a substantive vote on the overall petition. So you want to go out to the public and say you have a right to determine your redresses to government, which is a part of our system, and then suddenly we say, no, you gotta have all 100% of this. This is a big change. When did this come up?
Yeah, let me go back to what I read earlier.
One thing you can take into consideration is that this is a preliminary approval, so it is not a
Following the
final.
discussion, the committee will take a vote on each condition. Determine whether it has been substantially met, and then determine its approval or disapproval of the petition. If the committee determines that any of the conditions are not met, they will disapprove the petition. That will end the matter, and again, pending any appeal, the State Board of Education might be part.
That's a flawed process.
Well, you know, but we're not here to determine whether it's a flawed process or not.
If I could just clarify, the reason we gave you the opportunity to vote on each condition is because the staff report had 4 substantially met conditions and 5 that were not substantially met. We gave you the opportunity to vote on each condition to change that staff recommendation, and that's what you chose to do. Based on state board direction and state board guidance, any condition that is not substantially met terminates the petition process. It's done.
But the word significant has a threshold, and at some point we cross the threshold. And that has never been demarcated in the report or anywhere else. So if you vote in all honesty that there is an impact, and the issue has to do with the definition of significant, which has not been determined, how do you move the reform process if you can't move forward to determine whether it's significant or not?
I feel like I'm operating under two sets of directions, and the verbal ones that I got are different than what Mr. Ogas is reading. This issue is significant to two school districts, and I don't even feel comfortable sitting right here right now making a decision on this because emotions are starting to enter into it rather than clarity of fact on how this is to proceed. This is really significant, and people have been waiting a very long time to have some resolution to this, and we're doing it a favor by bringing this forward to discussion, but we need to have a healthy, clear discussion on that process to arrive at that decision.
It's input from the, that voted on the affirmative side on condition 7. We can ask the same judge our vote now, or do we have to read
Uniformitarian.
If you're going to recall, it has to happen at the meeting that was at, and the party who made it has to do the one.
Who made the motion?
Who made the motion?
Motion was made by AJ, seconded by Bostrom.
One second.
Condition 7, we're talking about condition 7.
They're gonna read to 7.
At 12:58.
Likewise, the education
Here's what we're gonna do. Mr. Wilmer, you had a motion on the floor. And your motion was to approve the whole process.
I was going
Go back.
I was going to amend it as a preliminary approval with the
Okay, that's
the
fine.
second approval.
Would you restate your motion?
Okay. With approval of the seconder, I would like to change my motion to preliminarily approve the petition.
Second. Okay, discussion. Call for the question.
I would say that I would rather go back to condition 7 and see if we can change that, because that would effectively, could be a primary,
I think that's a great suggestion that Mr. Nunez makes because it doesn't negate Mr. Wilmer's motion of a preliminary approval of the petition. It would just simply clarify a voting of the committee, given now a clear understanding of the written direction that we actually were under versus maybe the different understandings that some of us.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. As the motioner for condition 7, how can I ask for that to be reconsidered?
Well, let's first of all vote on the current or hold the current. We want to make another motion. I think we have a motion on the floor.
I will pull my motion that's on the floor.
All right. That's been pulled. The motion is dead.
May I ask the secretary to read the minutes of the vote with each of our votes surrounding condition 7, so there's more clarity? If we're going to vote on condition 7? Yes.
The result is 7.
Motion for condition 7 was to accept the staff recommendation that it was not substantially met. Andrade was yes, Bostrom was yes, Edmondson was no, Griffith was yes, Nunez was no, Ogaz was yes, Peterson was yes, Solomon was yes, Wilmer was yes. It passed 7-2 to accept the staff recommendation that that finding that condition was not substantially met.
Two no votes for it.
Mr. Nunez and Mr. Evans.
So what's the process? Who can have that condition revisited?
Somebody gets to move for reconsideration. Yes.
It can't be you or it can't be me.
What is it, what is, what,
Somebody's opposing affirmative.
anybody want to open that?
I move for reconsideration of item 7, and I would like to get more input from the audience.
Second.
Thank you.
You get more
What's number
information?
7? Who can talk to it?
No.
No.
You can make the motion regarding the vote or reconsider the motion, but there's no more public comment.
I amend my motion to reconsider item 7.
I second it. I second.
All those in favor? You want to, I'm sorry, you got to take that.
Roll.
Okay,
In
discussion,
favor of reconsideration.
Yes.
favor of reconsideration, item.
So reconsideration for item number 7. Andrade.
Aye.
Foster. Edmonds.
Aye.
Griffith.
Yes.
Nunez.
Yes.
Bogas.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Solomon.
Yes.
Wellman.
Yes.
So now will be reconsidered.
Let's do discussion first.
There has to be
Is there discussion?
a motion to start with.
Make a motion to discuss item 7.
Second.
Make a motion, second to reconsider item petition 7.
To discuss item 7.
Discussion. That's a motion.
Aye.
Yeah. A motion to discuss item 7.
And you have a second.
Ashley says yes.
Foster. Edmondson. Griffith.
Yes.
Nunez.
Yes.
Bogas.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Solomon.
Yes.
Wilmer.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0 to reopen discussion.
Let's do.
The reason I voted yes to the motion was just because the wording of the finding that says that staff found it was substantially, not substantially met, and the condition is will not result in a significant increase in school housing costs. My understanding is what Lackawanna Unified presented was in their mind that it would not create a net increase. They were not arguing that it would not increase their housing costs, but that they had mechanisms that would bring in revenues or other ways to be able to make it financially net neutral. But when I looked at the exact wording, I couldn't find the word net in there. On the other hand, if I now see it in the context that this was going to stop the entire petition from even a preliminary approval to look at the environmental impacts and so forth, it puts it in a bit of a different light on how I might interpret what originally I thought it was.
More discussion, Mr. Wilmer.
So, I'm still not, I'm happy we were visiting this, and I'm going to change my vote. I'm going to have to look very carefully at a little more detail on the ed code. I'm just thinking of past proposals we've had in front of us. We've had communities commit to bonds and being able to build, committing to building extra high schools and a variety of things. Those are clearly an impact on facilities costs. It's just the school district is choosing to solve them. And so all of a sudden, this is not I'm not sure that I'm understanding the conditions of this correctly. And the words, if reorganization will be insignificant, the result will be insignificant, or substantially met. If that is overturning school district that is willing to handle the facilities issue, that I have to look very seriously about what this condition means. And so where that leads me now is to vote for this condition being substantially met, because I'm of the conclusion that this reorganization, that this this petition should go forward. And there's a little bit of a back-end rationale, but that's where I'm stuck, because I'm not sure we're doing the correct process here.
One thing, and I'm not going to change my position on how I voted the first time, but you have to remember, this petition, this is a petitioner, not a school district petition. It's somebody from the public district. So that's what they cannot commit the school board into bonding issues or money issues because they have petition. They can't, you know.
The corollary.
It is.
The corollary to that is any single reorganization that requires a new piece of facility has to be turned down by us. And that just makes no sense to me. It just makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, but the only people that can actually, we can't say here and say, petitionaries, go to your school district, now that you won this, and make them pay for these buildings or whatever they have to do.
Well,
However they have to do.
I agree, but that's.
So but, you know, I don't think we have to.
But isn't that why each school district has a very prominent role in this process, number one? And number two, isn't that why this has to go back to a vote of the constituency?
Yeah, you're correct. You're right on that. And that's where that comes into line when the people are going to vote on that election day. That's when that comes into line. We cannot say to a school district, you need to.
Oh, I agree. I just don't think the opportunity should be taken away from the constituency to make a decision.
Okay, 1 second.
I have Amanda. Substantially, you said what I was seeking to do. We have a request from the public to change something the way government does it. The government's response is to the public, not to our response is not to the government, but to the public. Therefore, what adjustments need to be made because the public has requested. And they will express themselves in election or something, but we're trying to negotiate on behalf of the government and its responsibilities and fiduciary responsibilities. The public wishes something. We should try to do that. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, the condition reads that any increase in school facilities cost as a result of the proposed organization will be insignificant and otherwise, excuse me, incidental. Did you consider the transfer of all these students to La Cañada incidental as far as the costs are concerned, or insignificant? Do you consider the loss of those students insignificant or incidental as far as the costs are concerned from Glendale? That's what you have to consider. And you have to consider at the time that this is approved and at the time that that transfer takes place. I mean, we could sit here and say, well, you know, 5 years from now, that the school board will finally approve a bond, or will have sufficient funds, or will be able to do all of this. But what can they do today? That's what matters. If these transfers are made today, or next week, or after the first of the year, how prepared is La Cañada to take on these students without any insignificant cost or otherwise incidental cost? That's what the issue is. It's not big. We can sit here all night and say, you know, the public's going to do this, the board's gonna do that, they're gonna put a bond out, they're gonna do this, they're gonna put partial, more partial tax, whatever you want. But that's future. This transfer will take place now, and that's when it's gonna happen. So is it insignificant or otherwise incidental? That's what, we're talking about, that increase. Is that increase in cost insignificant or incidental? Yes or no? That's what before.
Chair?
Yes, Mr. Howell.
There's an interpretation here. Otherwise incidental to the reorganization means caused by the reorganization. Otherwise, I mean, that's a very valid interpretation of that phrase, and I think that may be what it's intended. I mean, otherwise, there cannot be any reorganization that ever involves increasing the school district size, and that just makes no sense for this process. So the part of condition 7 that I'm paying attention to is that I believe that any housing costs related to this reorganization would be otherwise incidental to the reorganization.
Would it be significant?
It depends on the definition.
Depends on the definition. It really does.
It depends on their numbers.
Exactly. We have some of them. Go ahead.
So we've had another philosophical discussion about condition 7. We are reconsidering it because it in of itself is a condition demanding further discussion, and because the process of what our voting means, that it come up differently in discussion, finding out no matter either we were told you vote on these conditions and however you vote doesn't impact how you ultimately vote on a petition to approve it or not approve it. And so part of the reconsideration was in this member's mind was to be able to give further consideration outgoing to the petition as a whole, because in listening to conversation, there was still information to garner, which would be related to the EIR. There were questions brought up, and I know we've had this situation before related to the tax base, things that will come up during that process. Because what I heard is some members still have questions in their mind on information that's been provided to us from all three entities, ourselves and the 2 school districts. So, the reconsideration of this condition is pretty significant to how this petition goes or doesn't go. Just want to say that. All right, we already made the motion to reconsider. Okay, so I move that.
Let me make a comment.
Okay.
So we all understand why we're here at this particular point in time. In the years past, before this change, the committee could vote, and let's say we voted like today, 8-1. All right. Then after that, the committee could still vote, no matter what the outcome was of the 9 conditions. No matter what that outcome was, the committee could then take a motion and vote. And it was supposedly okay and legal before the State Board of Ed, that we could either approve or disapprove the whole petition as a whole. Now, that's been changed, because now it states if one condition fails or doesn't pass, it's over. You see? And that's where we're at. Some of us that have been on this committee for a while, that's why we're still kind of struggling with that, okay? And I want you all to understand why there seems to be a little bit of confusion, because this is new to us all. So we were always used to making that final decision at the end, but now we're here, okay? But now we can still try to do this, if you will. Okay, you were gonna make a motion.
Yeah, so can I move directly on condition 7, or is there something else I have to do first?
So you can move directly in condition 7,
Okay.
which is what we're discussing.
Okay, I move that condition 7
has been substantially met.
Second.
Would you restate the motion, Mr. Secretary?
The motion is that condition 7 would have substantially been met, and that is against the staff's recommendation. A yes vote would indicate that this condition has substantially been met. Andrade.
Andrea.
I'm sorry. Oscar.
Yes.
Edmondson.
Yes.
Griffith.
Aye.
Nunez.
Aye.
Ogas.
No.
Peterson.
Because this vote seems to be on the entirety of the matter, and as I discussed before, that there may be some reasonable belief that I may have been swayed by emotional elements, if nothing else. I recuse myself on this vote.
Solomon.
Yes.
Wilmer.
Yes.
Condition 7, vote is 7-1-1, that has substantially been met.
Another motion in order, Mr. Chair?
The motion is in order.
Remember, it's preliminary approval.
I move that this committee preliminarily approve the petition. Second.
Then move the second to preliminarily approve this petition. Discussion. Call for the question.
The motion is to preliminarily approve this sagebrush territory transfer. Draghi.
Aye.
Osram.
Yes.
Edmondson.
Yes.
Griffith.
Aye.
Nunez.
Aye.
Ogas.
No.
Peterson.
Yes.
Solomon.
Yes.
Wilmer.
Yes.
This motion for preliminary approval of the sagebrush territory passes on an 8-1 vote pending a CEQA study.
In addition to the super study, the committee, as we have in past petitions, can also request specific additional information so that when we reconvene, we have that information.
Break.